Hey guys, Derek Blue Collar Chess. This is like take 502 or something on this very simple position. I just don't like how I've been explaining it, so I really want to kind of help people how to calculate a little bit better, you know. So you, it's white to move. Again, I would pause the video and figure out on your own what you think is best, and the question is, what's the best move and why is it the best move? And you just answer that to yourself, and then you come back and look at my answer. So you've got two options. You can take the rook or you can move the rook. Now, why would you move the rook instead of just immediately taking the rook? You would do that because maybe you don't like to calculate, you have a hard time with visualization, you can't see what the position would look like, you don't have a couple, I would say, you don't, like your technique may not be up to par, so you don't know, like, I look at rook takes rook and I'm like, oh, I'm completely winning that game. Now, why do I think I'm winning that? Okay, because for a couple of reasons. The pawn structures, black's going to have double pawns. I'm going to have my connected pawns on g3 and h3, right? So rook takes rook, b takes c5. That's what the pawn structure looks like. I am then going to ask myself, can I stop his pawn from queening? And the answer is yes. I can get inside the rule of the square. So again, just really quick recap. The rule of the square is, because his pawn's going to be on c5, so you're just going to go, basically, draw an arrow in your mind to the end of the board, and then you're going to go the same amount of squares over, same amount of squares up, and that's the square. And you know, my very next move, I can get inside the square, so I know I can stop the pawn without his king intervening and blocking me out. So the only question I have to ask in that position is whether or not his king can block me out. So really, anything that I calculate in this entire thing would be that. So let's just recap really quick on what's going on. In this position, you ask yourself two questions. Should I trade or should I not trade? Or really just one question. Should I trade, right? So why would you preserve your rook? Probably a lot to do with your visualization skills and not realizing that that's probably a pretty simple win. Okay. Again, why is it a simple win? Because black's going to have two double pawns that your king can stop. So that means his king has to go over there to usher them in. It's the only line you have to calculate. And if he doesn't, say he stays on the king side and wants to stop your pawns, he can't take your pawns. They protect each other because they're connected past pawns. So you know, like, eventually he's going to have to give up a tempo and you're just going to start gobbling up his pawns, right? Okay, so his only move... So actually, but before I go into that, we should talk about, so what happens if you just move your rook? So you move your rook and you are essentially, you're throwing away the win. Now, you're not losing, but... So you play a move like rook g8 because you have limited squares that you can move your rook to. Again, why would you do that? Maybe because you have a bias. Maybe because you can't calculate. Who knows? But you make a move like this, and the position is he's going to have a pass pawn. You're going to have he's going to have two pass pawns eventually. But right now, I would call it one pass pawn. But anyways, and you have your two pass pawns, but I mean he's got checks, and to me, like if you were to make this move without even really thinking, it just shows that you're lacking something, or you have a bias that you need to work on. Okay, because this is just a dead draw. If it's played properly, now is it always a draw? No, you can lose this. Black can lose this for sure. But rook takes c5 is an actual win. Now let's look at the pawn structure I was talking about here. And so in this pawn structure, again, you know your next move is going to be king g4 because you have to get into that square to stop the pawn, right? So this is going to be the square. Okay, so you know he can't push because you can just stop him. So he has to play king to e5. You're going to play king to f3. He's going to play king to d4. You're going to play king to e2. Now at this point, if he pushes his pawn to c4, you're going to play king to d2. I mean, you don't even have to do that. You can play king d2, really. Yeah, I mean, you can do anything, really. You can start pushing your pawn you want. I don't think there's any move that would actually lose there. I believe every move probably wins that position. So, okay. So you can just tell that he has to play king to c3. So now he's giving up a tempo. All right. So in this position, he's going to stop you from being able to stop the pawn, right? Because he's gonna go to b2. So there's no reason to move to king to d1 because he stopped you, right? You can no longer proceed. So now that he's given you a tempo, what you're going to calculate is a pawn push. Now you've got two pawn pushes, right? You've got g4 and h4. I think they both win, but I wouldn't even calculate g4. I would calculate h4, and the reason why I would calculate h4 is because the king is going to be on this a1 to h8 diagonal. And let's get a circle there. And that pawn is going to queen on that square, and he gave you the extra tempo. So you know you're going to queen with a check. He's not going to have a pawn queen jet. And that should give you enough time, and you have this open b file to check him again. And that will force him to either take the a2 pawn or to go to c1, which at that point you can just start taking pawns, right? You can just start taking pawns. So that should look like a win to you, but I understand like if your visualization skills aren't great and you don't see why that's a win. So I'm going to play that out for you. And in this position, you're going to play h4. I mean, and again, like when I first calculated this puzzle, these are all simple, easy things to find. All I had to get to was to this position or the position prior to this, and just see that he was on that diagonal, and I was going to push with a check. I mean, you do have to count a little bit, I suppose. From this position would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you know you're going to queen first because it's your move, and you're going to queen with a check. So then you can just kind of tell, like, your king's in a good position, your queen's going to be in a good position, you should be able to start taking his pawns, and, and honestly, you still have that extra pawn on g3. So you should feel pretty confident that you're winning this position. So, again, we're just going to play this out so that you can see it. And here, now that we're here, again, this isn't... I kind of trivialize it. This isn't easy, like, I mean, so you know it's a check. So what if he plays this, right? You do have to calculate a little bit and decide whether you can win this or not. So again, you're going to have to either check him to force him to do something, and then you can start taking pawns. So I think queen to b8 is probably the best move here. Probably queen h7 works too. It probably does keep him, doing something. But yeah, so anyways, I like queen to b8 check because it just forces something. Again, I like forcing moves. It forces him to move. So say he takes, and then you can just bring your king, right? Now that pawn's dead, and as soon as you take, he's going to be in a pretty bad position. So let's say he does. Let's say he does this move, right? Okay. Well, then you just take this pawn. Now, say he's going to try to get cheeky here with you, right? I mean, this is it. Now you're forcing checkmate. He's got to get out of checkmate. You're going to go check, take. So you should be able to get to, this position here and know that you're winning. Now, if you can't, I would say that's more of a visualization thing. And you need to be able to work on your visualization. Because again, you've got to visualize this position here. So again, that's quite a few moves away, right? So, but it's still an easy puzzle, and that's because you know that once you take the rook, it's a forcing move. He has to take back, and then you know that you can stop the pawn with your king. So you know that you have to move your king. He has to move his king to block your king, and you can easily find that position by just making the move, just knowing that that's the principle, because he can't stop your pawns. So if he just lets your king come over to the queen side, you're going to take all of his pawns, and so there's just no path forward for anybody except for those moves that I showed you, right? So it's a fairly easy calculation puzzle because it's all forcing, and you can tell because of the positional considerations. Okay. Again, I think when I'm thinking about how I'm presenting this to you guys, and I get it. I'm probably making it sound a little more difficult than what it really is, and I apologize for that. Maybe watch the video a couple times. So I think these are some key concepts. Basically, we talked about the rule of square, we talked about counting, and we talked about whether or not which pawn structure is better and for whom, right? So, again, guys, Derek Blue Collar Chess. I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope that you like the puzzle. I hope that it stressed out your brain a little bit. All those type of things, and I hope you're doing your training. Blah 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 blah. And yeah, Derek Blue Collar Chess. Talk to you guys later.